Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights from a Headhunter LinkedIn Live. Today's topic is salary negotiation tips from a pro. Today, we have a special guest, Martina Ernst, who is a senior HR professional specialized in salary negotiations. So she has experience from the financial sector and services sector, having been the head of HR, general manager. And I am so happy to have you here on the LinkedIn Live. Welcome, Martina.
It's really a pleasure to be with you here, Tina. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation to share your knowledge because you have worked in the biggest banks in Austria and you're also a coach with an MBA. So I'm so happy to have somebody to bring clarity to one of the taboo topics, which is money and salary negotiations.
Yeah, it's really my passion to help people earn their worth, and especially women, because I think that often women are afraid to ask for it.
So I have also seen that working as a headhunter, that women are the ones who don't dare to negotiate their salary. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think women are so much into harmony that they think when they ask their bosses for a raise, they might come across too bossy, which is not the case because at the end of the day, the employer wants the same as the employee. They want the employees to be motivated and to really help the company grow and prosper. And women think that anyhow the employer sees how hard they work and how committed they are, and they think it's enough and then they will be recompensed anyhow. But unfortunately, this is not how it works in real life. So it's time to dare to ask what you are worth.
Yeah, it can be, I think, a bit scary. I had the experience when I was younger, just graduated from the university and had my first salary negotiation experiences, and they were quite um, traumatic, so to say, and that leaves you with this knowledge that it's something that's scary. What would you advise?
Yeah, it's you're right, Tina. For many people, it's a real big step to do this first approach and make sure that you're there even to have this interview with your boss. So there are several steps you need to take to prepare your mindset. The first is you really need to make sure that you know your market value, because it's all about your market value. And how do you find out? You can Google it, you can research, you can talk to friends and say, what would you pay or what would you ask for in a comparable position? So that's the easiest thing you can do. Talk to your friends. Don't ask them what they earn, because normally people, I don't know, but some are open, but some are not. So don't push them, but they always, people love to give advice. So ask them, what would you demand if you were in my position? That's a very helpful thing. And then there are tons of pages on the internet where you can find what does someone in a comparable position earn. So that's the first thing. And this is already gives you facts which underline your request. And then it's not like you have to ask something out of the blue. You can just base your demand on your research. And the second is, and this is also very important, ask your friends and colleagues where you are especially good at.
Mm.
Because they know, and you always probably have the tendency to criticize yourself. Yeah, we always see our defaults instead of seeing where we are really great. So make sure you find out and then sit down, write it down, repeat it in your head, and then start talking about it. Because if you don't do it, no one does. And then eventually you are prepared and more fortified to talk to your boss. So that's the mindset thing.
So before you sit down and have the scary conversation, there are at least 3 steps.
Yes.
So find out through networking and by asking, by talking to people, not directly, what is your salary? Because they tell it to me as a headhunter, but I'm sure their family and friends don't have a clue. The second one is ask a friend, what is the label of the jar? Because when you're inside the jar, you can't see your own label. What are your strengths?
I
And
love this. I love this comparison. Exactly.
and then you have to sit down and write down, because if you have it in our heads, we think we got it, but the magic happens when you take a pen and you put it down on paper and you see other and something to take with you to the
To
to
the
the
meet.
table.
Absolutely. Because, you know, every superior loves facts. So you need to provide these facts. And what are these facts? The facts are, honestly, it's not magic. The facts are the added values you brought to the company in case you talk to your current supervisor. And what are these added values? The added value is always something you provide on top of your normal job description. So
Yeah.
this means you bring much more sales than it was expected from you. You
Yep.
bring maybe an innovation which wasn't there before. And it can be a small innovation, but a relevant innovation. For example, you improved a process which was cumbersome, and now it's an easy process flow. You maybe increased the quality of a product. You brought more customers. You increased the retention of staff. So many things. And if you are maybe in a field where it's not about figures, you might bring happier clients. So you increase the client satisfaction, which is extremely important, you know. And at the end of the day, how do you know whether it's added value? This is always the $1,000 question. Very simple. At the beginning of the year, ask your boss what he expects from you, and then ask your boss, how do you know whether your job performance will be just okay, or whether it will exceed his expectations or her expectations. So you will find out already at the beginning of the year where you can focus on. And
Exactly.
added value means added worth to your added worth. So this is worth more money in normal companies.
Yeah, and I see it so often that people who have stayed in the same organization, they have had several promotions, but their salary is not on the same level as the market level compared to other people who have taken risks and changed organizations. Because you need to drive the salary negotiations as if you were competing with external talents.
Yes, this is a very valid point, and it's absolutely true. And this is why you should not be afraid to sit down with your boss and make sure that you really ask your boss for a 1 hour meeting. You sit down with your boss and you say, listen, I really like the company. I want to further grow in the
Yeah.
company. I want to help the company grow and succeed and prosper. And I have no intention leaving the company, but I really want to make sure that nevertheless, my salary is up to market value. And I was researching my market value and I came out with such a range, and I see myself in this range, and now I'm below the range. So how do you see this? What can we do? And this is how you invite your boss to become active. What can we do to get me there? And then it's the beginning of a process, because maybe your employer, if he likes you, and this is something you easily find out because then he always gave you good ratings, then you just simply make sure that together you define a process how you get to this range. And probably it's not overnight, but a good employee can expect up to 15-20% salary increase to adjust to bring him to market value.
Yeah, and I think it's a key sentence that you said there. You sit down with your boss, you say, I have no intention to leave, because often I see in my own practice is that people go through a lengthy recruitment process, being interviewed by several headhunters, going through several interview processes, assessments online, then they get an offer from another company, and only then they dare to sit down with their boss. Here is the offer that I have on the table. What can you bring? But this is not a good way to go.
No.
And why is that?
Because it's almost threatening the other person, and no one likes to be threatened. And honestly, what I've seen quite often is when it's not done properly, the employer is so angry that he says, okay, then seek your luck elsewhere, which is really a shame. So make sure this doesn't happen. And nowadays, it's a market where the employees have all the advantage, because all corporations desperately look for new employees. So as an employee, you have all the cards on the table. So don't shy away from talking to your employer. And ideally, when you fix this meeting, do not call it, let's talk about salary. Talk about the profession. Say to your employer, I would like to fix a meeting of an hour where we really sit down and talk about my professional development in the company. Because you might get promoted. Who knows? It's not, it's not out of the blue. Sometimes we are so negative that we don't even think of what could be possible.
And I think we also, it's clear in our heads where we want to go, but sometimes we don't communicate, and what everyone has a different path. So not always a promotion is something that everyone is looking for. It can be a training or something else where you want to further develop. But I think it's so important not to go there with a job offer, because that will break trust.
Yeah.
And in a couple of months, the employer can find a way to make you redundant because the trust isn't there anymore. And I think your own motivation will also go down if you have already decided in your head that I don't want to give anything to this company anymore. I want to go elsewhere. But since they gave you an offer that you couldn't resist, you see, money isn't everything. It's not a long-term motivation.
I mean, it might happen that you did not seek for another employment, but you got an offer. So in that case, you can go to the employer and say, listen, this offer hit me out of the blue. I wasn't seeking for an employment, but here I have this fantastic offer and I want to discuss it with you because I have no intention to leave the company. But nevertheless, when I see that they offer me, I don't know, 1,000 euros more per month, it's something I cannot just neglect. So and then once again, say these magic words, what can we do? Because it invites the employer to think flexibly. It does not say you have to match it one by one or I leave. It's no threatening at all. It's just an invitation, because the other side then can really consider how valuable is this employee to me. And I guarantee you, if you are a really valuable employee, they will do something. And maybe they cannot match it fully, but as you said, they can maybe give you a part in money, and the other part, maybe they give you some interesting benefits, such as coaching sessions or whatsoever, whatever is relevant to you. So start this process.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, not even to start with the conversation, because what has happened before, when you were not prepared. So we have some people who are joining us. We have Jeff Young joining from the US. Salary negotiations has always been a tough issue. Looking forward to these tips. Thank you, Jeff. And we have Jim Wolfe, who is from the UK. And he is actually the author of the intro music that we just played
Oh,
in the
great.
beginning. So thank you so much, Jim, for the music. We have Prashant joining us. And Jim says, that was my problem when I stayed in my first sales job far too long and got left behind in the salary stakes.
Yeah, yeah, it's really like it has to be seen as a process, and you drive this process like a car, and it takes a while until you get to your goal, but you will eventually you will get there if you really stay at the steering wheel.
Exactly, because we are in charge of our careers, not what happens inside the company, but we can set our own goals and find our way.
Yeah. Because, at the end of the day, if you don't have this conversation, you might not even know how valued you are. And maybe it hurts a little bit if you find out that your company does not value as much as you think. But this leaves you the absolute opportunity to move on. And I think it's really important.
And Kevin D. Turner from Dallas, absolutely, Tina and Martina, always negotiate your compensation. Let me ask you, Martina, what is your biggest negotiation lesson?
For myself, the biggest lesson is that at the end of the day, it's a win-win. Not your the employer is not your enemy, and if you know this, your mindset will be completely different. Then you won't be so afraid. Go there and think that your supervisor wants the same as you do, so help him find the right arguments, because he often has to talk to his boss or her boss to defend you and your cause. So make sure that you bring enough added value, which he can then forward and make sure that you get your promotion. So employer is not the enemy. I think this is very important. Changes the mindset.
And let me ask you, what made you choose the field of salary negotiations? Because I think it's one of the topics that so many people want to avoid and leave it for the last minute and yeah, avoid it so much. What made you draw to that topic?
Honestly, I have to really admit, when I started my career, I was not at all into salary. I was not even interested. I said, I want to do whatever I'm passionate about, and then the rest will work out by itself. And then 5 years into my job, I had to find out that others earned 50% more than I did for a comparable performance, or even for sometimes for a poorer performance. So then I got really mad, and and it was a blow to my passion and to my self-confidence, because I thought, like, what the heck did I do wrong? And I started negotiating, and it took me a whole year. And at the time I was very young, and I had to negotiate with two men. And in my opinion, at the time, I considered them old men. Yeah? So I was alone, always with these two old men in a room. And then after 1 year, I succeeded big time. And I got even more than these 50% more. And this made me so happy, and I was so fulfilled. From that moment on, I loved negotiating. It was like really, well, because I understood that at the end of the day, two things were helping me to be successful. One was I was asking them, what are your success criteria
Yeah.
to ensure that I can get the money I think I afford? They gave me the numbers and figures. And the second thing was, I was never giving up. Whenever I got a no, I said, okay, I understand it's not yet the moment. So please, let's fix already the next in 3 months. Let's fix the next encounter where we can continue talking about it. So I did not give up. I was persistent. And at the end of this period, it was 12 months in total, I could provide exactly the figures they were asking for. And I over exceeded these figures so much that they would have even to give me more than the 60%, which I finally got. So I think this is what you really need. Believe in yourself and don't give up. Continue the process. Don't, because bosses always like to say, yeah, now there is no budget and I'm so
No, yeah,
sorry. I would
never.
love, exactly, but there's never a budget. Exactly.
I think it's brilliant what you said, not yet. So it's not a no, but it's not yet. And often we think that it's like one off. You ask once, they say no, and it's forever. But really fixing an appointment in 3 months' time to see if we come to the right level of expectations and then go on.
Yes, I think this not yet is so important because it gives you a growth mindset and allows you to not limit yourself in a little square where nothing is possible.
Yes. Uh, when it comes to uh, job interviews, when is a good time to talk about salary
Yeah.
in a new organization?
Mhm. Companies normally have fixed processes where they review salaries. So it's normally once a year. And often it's after the balance sheet is done. Then the budget is more or less set for the following year. And then they start preparing the salary review process. So make sure you know exactly when it is, because it might be in the
Yeah.
phase of February, March, or it might be in September, October, depending on the company's balance sheets. And then ideally 1 year ahead or 6 months ahead, you had really fixed with your boss what were the goals, how can you contribute to them, and what would mean exceeding the goals. Hmm.
And if it would be for a new organization?
Yeah, if it is for a new organization, I mean, then normally when you start, you should negotiate your salary during the interview. And even in the interview, do not, when they offer you something which you think, oh, it's okay, don't say, yeah, take it. Just say, thank you, this is fantastic. Let me go home, let me sleep over it, let me review it carefully. I might have some questions. And then let me get back to you. Can I get back to you by, I don't know, when it's Monday, by Wednesday evening? So it's really important that you do not jump on the first offer, because then you go home, you scroll through the market value of the new position to make sure you understood it very well. And then this gives you the lever to go back and say, what kind of flexibility do you have to maybe increase this or that? Always negotiate, because if you don't do it before you start your job, it will take you at least a year before you get the next salary increase. So you lose a whole year, and it's so
Yes,
easier.
and if you are in a new country where where you don't have any idea how much one position is earning with the tax systems and benefits, what would you recommend then?
Honestly, it's the same everywhere in the world, because it doesn't matter whether you're in India or in Dubai or in Singapore or in Amsterdam, whatsoever. At the end of the day, you are paid for the job function and the responsibility in the market where your job is executed. So this means, let's assume you work in Singapore. Then there is then you can research the salaries for Singapore. I just did it yesterday by coincidence, because next week we are giving a workshop, and people are from all over the world. So I wanted to be prepared. And you can just, I didn't even say that I'm a company talking about salary negotiations. I downloaded this report for free as a normal person, with my private account. So everyone can do that. You can scroll through. What is it I should be paid for this, that position in this and that market? So So it doesn't matter whether you're foreign in the country or not. And always be prepared. If you don't get paid your market value of the current country and level in your company, then you should negotiate it. And it might take a half a year until they adjust it. But if they want you on board, and if you're new in the company, they already gave you the offer, so it's sure that they wanted you on board, and they don't want to lose you.
Yes, it's all about coming with the question and opening the conversation lines.
Yes, exactly.
So we have a comment here from Rich. This having a conversation with your manager is timely. Talking with my boss tomorrow.
So we cross our fingers. All the best, Rich.
So it's really important that you always talk in a we language and have clear goals and clarify and keep those conversations open.
Absolutely.
Uh, then we have Jim. This is such powerful advice. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jim.
I love the win-win attitude. You should have an ongoing open partnership between employer and an employee.
Yes, absolutely. It's really not your enemy. Because if it is, you better leave the company, honestly.
Yes, so it's a very 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 good advice. It you can know that you are in the right company. Let me ask you another question. When it happens that during our careers, um, reorganizations happen in the companies and people are made redundant, especially during the past 2 years, and you currently don't have a job, and you're going to different job interviews and you get an offer that's below the previous salary that you had earned.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but because you don't have a job right now, they made you an offer that was below your market value. What would you do or advise in that
Yeah,
situation?
this is a very good question, and I think many people are in this situation,
Yes.
especially after or in the middle of the pandemic. So I think there are two more or less options to react to this offer. One is you tell them in a very nice way and then say, "I'm so sorry, but I would love to work for your company, and it seems that what I can offer is really what you're looking for. But the market value of such a function, and don't talk about yourself because
Yeah.
they are looking for a function and a function holder. The market value of this function is XYZ. And I do not want to work below my market value, because you can be assured you will get this, and I can really make sure that with me in this position, you will thrive, and your company will benefit from it. So you can kindly decline the offer and tell them that the market value is higher, and give them a range. Yeah, but give a range where the lower value is the one you want to get, and then make it the 10% up, because in the best possibility, you get then not only what you wanted, but then even 5% more, because often you get an offer in the middle. Or if they take the lowest threshold, then at least it is not something you did not want. it's
Yes.
it's called anchoring. So this is one possibility. I mean, if you're really desperate and you think that you cannot afford to decline because you really have no money left and no buffer, no financial buffer, you could accept, but then please do not just say yes. Say, okay, you don't know me, but you know as much as I do that the market value of this position is higher. So please, let's fix a 3 months or 6 months period where I start with this lower salary to show you that I'm really fit for the position. But then let's adjust the salary to the current market value. So do not give in. But what can happen to you? Nothing. They want you on board. They would never make you an offer if they don't want you on board. And be assured, and Tina has thousands of clients experience. And honestly, I have also a lot of, I had 1,500 employees in one of my positions and 20,000 employees to take care of in the banking sector. So never ever an employer declines to take on board someone only because this person asked for more money. If an employer wants the best suited person, they don't care about 5% up or down. And then if they really cannot go 5% up, they will explain you. But it's you don't come across as inappropriate if you ask your worth. It even is strange if you just swallow and accept to be paid below your worth, because it shows something about you and yourself.
Definitely, and I think it's almost a time bomb, because after 3 months you will get so demotivated. You will do the work for the salary that you're earning and not putting your full potential in it. So it's not beneficial to you, nor for the company. Like you said, two great options how to go about it. Say yes, but to be clear what and transparent, what is your worth and what you can bring, because nobody else will do that for you.
It's true.
So we also have Jayan joining us from India. Giving a range is always better, and agree the lowest is what you can settle with. That's really excellent mindset. And to finish off today's conversation, Jim says, he said, I wish I had listened to this as a young man. And I totally agree. I wish I would have known somebody like you who is so generous, sharing your knowledge with others. And I hope people will see this on replay and leave a comment, so we will hear back from others. What is the best way to come in contact with you?
Yes, the best way is to simply go to my website, www.salarynegotiations.at. AT because I'm sitting in Austria.
Austria, yeah.
So looking forward to meeting many of you. And there you just find me.
It's a lovely country. I used to study there during my master's year, so I really miss the mountains. And also connect with Martina on LinkedIn. She's also on Instagram,
on Facebook.
So we have Emmanuel and Alex thanking us. So thank you everyone who joined us, and see you next time. Bye.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Tina. It was
Thank you,
great.
Martina.
Thank you. Bye-bye.